couple. Thank you very much.
Any family members still arriving? There's a bunch of seats down here for you. Want to welcome you to this celebration of life of Michael Moore Waters. Mike would have loved this space, and we're really lucky to be able to have the use of this Apil Hall to celebrate it. Mike actually played here, and so I'm sure he's going, yay! So we welcome you all, and on behalf of the Moore family, we welcome you.
How can I hear the harps eternal ringing on the farther shore, as I near those golden waters with their deep and solemn roar? Hallelujah, 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 glory to and my soul shall sing with sorrow, fading as the light of day, as it swiftly hurries on to the city far away. Hallelujah, hallelujah,
Souls have crossed before me safely to that land of perfect rest, and I hear them singing faintly in the mansions of the blessed.
There is perhaps no more universal sign of a circle that is unbroken than light. And so we light this candle in honor of Mike and of the unbroken circle of light eternal. May the soul of Michael rest in peace, and as we see this flame, may we be reminded of the eternal nature of life.
A reading from the poet Rumi. The mystery is not made clear by repeating the question, nor is it bought by going to amazing places, until you have kept your eyes and your wants still for 40 years. You do not begin to cross over from confusion. The clear bead at the center changes everything. There are no edges to my loving now. It is said that there is a window through which souls can communicate. But if there are no walls, what need for a window or fitting the latch?
Oh
Michael. The candlelight flickered around him, causing the shadows to dance across the walls. They told stories of mystical journeys across unpaved lands, of family, friends, love, hate, sun and moon, the contrast between light and dark, ignorance and knowledge. His fingers moved with precise grace as he strummed the strings of his beloved guitar, faster and faster, slower and slower. It was mesmerizing. You couldn't take your eyes off of him. He had a certain power bestowed upon him. He brought people together. Music is the one thing that everyone will listen to, and he speaks to us through his chords. His melodies hold us fast and keep us strong as we get lost in the wonderful sound that encompasses us all. He is pure and whole, and he spreads his wisdom and unspoken words through everyone's mind, heart, and soul. Music has the ability and power to do amazing things. You just need the right person to unlock it. He is one of the few that can make that magic come true.
On this day I celebrate a time well spent together, filled with joy, love and music that carried us to places. On this day I celebrate time well spent together, filled with joy, love and music that carried us to places. When I meditate, it's your life, I celebrate. When I meditate, it's your life, I celebrate. Many trips across the world, jamming and performing together. Your words of wisdom profoundly changed my life. Many trips across the world, jamming and performing together. Your words of wisdom profoundly changed my life. When I meditate, it's your life, I celebrate. When I meditate, it's your life, I celebrate. filled with joy, love and music that carried us to places when I meditate. It's your life, I celebrate. When I meditate, it's your life, I celebrate. It's your life, I celebrate. It's your life, I celebrate.
Un seul être vous manque et tout est dépeuplé. After losing the woman he loved, the French poet Lamartine wrote this verse, which loosely translates into, when you miss that one special person, the whole world feels empty. Truer words have never been spoken. I'm here today to say a few words about Michael, the love of my life. But what is there to say when you wake up in an empty bed instead of next to the person who was there for the past 33 years? What is there to say when you no longer hear their voice in the house calling to you, talking on the phone, laughing with your kids? What is there to say when their clothes are still hanging empty in the closet? When you don't hear their guitar playing? What is there to say? Michael and I met like two stars colliding. Nothing in our backgrounds and life paths had destined us to meet, except for fate playing a sleight of hand, literally. So it came to be that a Parisian art student who had hardly ever left home, and the Vancouver Island boy, part logger, part hippie, who had traveled the world with his guitar, met at a terror workshop, no less, and at a whirlwind romance. Again, destiny played its part a few months later when I suffered a major life loss with the death of my mother. And in the aftermath, Michael invited me to visit him in Canada. The rest was history, as during my 2-month stay, it became very clear that in spite of our apparent differences, we were meant to be together. I wrapped up my life in Paris, left my native country, and followed Michael to the other side of the world. We moved back as newlyweds into Michael's childhood home, a tiny community of Winter Harbour in northern Vancouver Island, a huge transition for me. Young life took over, work in the family salmon farming business, 1 baby, then 2. 5 years later, still North Islanders. We moved to Port Hardy, where Michael worked first in the non-profit sector in marine resources, then in the ecotourism industry, and then in the computer industry. I stayed home with the family, and the third child soon decided to join the fray. Every few years we returned to visit my family and friends in Portugal, where Michael was adored by my relatives, who couldn't get over the fact that he spoke French, albeit in his own unique way. Finally, we left the North Island behind and moved to Victoria, where our family blossomed. Good schools, stores, restaurants, cultural life, great friends. And for Michael, most of all, the sudden opportunity to develop his music. When we first met, Michael told me that as a child in Winter Harbour, he saw something in a tree that he could only describe as an angel. This vision followed him all his life, and led him to experiment with psychedelics, and particularly in the last 10 years of his life with ayahuasca. And this is when his own music started flowing from his beloved guitar in an unending stream of mad inspiration. Because of the flowy quality of his music, he took the stage name of Michael Waters and started performing regularly, locally, and also abroad. Michael's spiritual message, his charismatic presence, his evocative music, and his virtuosity as a guitarist soon enthralled audiences. Then, 2.5 years ago, the unthinkable happened with a brutal diagnosis of incurable brain cancer. The journey that followed was heartbreaking and yet inspiring in so many ways. All his life, Michael lived with unrelenting optimism and a philosophical approach that made people sometimes look at him with skepticism. But he was true to himself in the end, and this attitude served him well in his last moments. When he was finally admitted to hospice after having been made comfortable with medication, he looked at his children and me at his bedside and said, "It's incredible to be so sick and yet so well." This was Michael to a T. As was his wish and mine, we were able to bring him home for the last 10 days of his life. And on the night of November 20th, while I was at his side, he gave me the gift of his last breath. In the early years of our marriage, when death seemed like an abstraction in a very, very distant future, Michael suddenly paused one day in what he was doing and turned to me and said, "You know that one day the universe is going to rip us apart. Now it has come to pass, and the universe feels like a great big empty place. But somehow I have to trust that, like it did the first time, it will bring us together again someday."
Fair bit taller than the last verses, folks. But I have some very good news to share with everybody, and that's that we never die. And this may sound like a strange thing to say, but it requires us to look a little closer at what it actually means to be alive. And science will tell you that it means to have a beating heart, lungs that draw breath, a brain that sends electrical impulses through your body. But what it really means to be alive is to have an effect on the world around you and on the people around you. Simply by existing, you make a permanent mark on the fabric of our universe. Every single person that you meet and every single life that you touch is changed forever by your passing through. And then every single life that is touched by that person is changed in turn. So really, no one who has ever lived has ever truly died. Our world is one collective sum of every single experience and every single existence that has come through it. And I admit that I looked at the ceremony today with a little bit of dread leading up to it, afraid that it would open up old pain. But in reality, it is actually a truly wonderful experience to see what I have left, what we all have left. This incredible family, all gathered here. Family and community. Each of us holding a piece, my Father, that create the whole. And nothing can ever take that away from us.
This is my father's journal from 1976, when he would have been about 21 or 22 years old and just beginning his travels around the world. And he gifted this to me a few years ago, and it's been a real treat reading through it. Really fascinating. He's exactly the same 22-year-old version, but every bit as inquisitive and whimsical and insightful and curious and wise, and creative and goofy. There's one part of it that always really stuck out to me that I want to share. He says, will I be old and unhappy before I know it? Please no, please no. Will I chase suppositions hither and yon until, gray-haired, I shake my head in tears and die? Will I yearn for something past? Know that it is too late. Is it too late? Not yet. I'll life be good to me. I always loved reading that because in all the years I knew him, even to his very last day, he was the happiest person I knew. And I think his 22-year-old self would be really stoked to see how the rest of his life went. To see what he left behind, and to see what he touched, and to see how much happiness he's left in the world, even though by leaving it, he's pain. But I think Emmanuel's words are apt. There's so much he brought to this world, and I'm so grateful.
It's hard to put words to what I would like to say. It's been such an amazing, influential part of my life. He was my mentor, my spiritual leader. He was one of my best friends. He was such a support in so many ways. And I think we can all relate to how much impact he could have on our lives. Like my family said, I still have trouble finding the words. Sorry. He was the most inspiring person I've ever known. And he, I think, is the largest reason why I am who I am today. I owe so much to him. He lived his life in a way that was exemplary. And in the last few years, it was extremely difficult to see him face the challenge of his prognosis. And it was also incredibly inspiring to see the grace with which he did this, and the courage, and the way he stayed true to himself and maintained his levity and his humor and his positive outlook and his unwillingness to be a burden on anyone else. There was that day in the hospital when we were all with him, and he was very ill, but we were all there in such good spirits, my brother and sister and mother and I. And he looked at us at one point, and my mom declared, "It's amazing to be so sick and yet so well." And it just spoke to his unrelenting, positive mentality and his enormous heart and his ability to still appreciate every moment of life, even if it was the most difficult moments. And then it was a little while later that day, he My dad loved wisdoms and koans and sharing things that he learned through his life. At one point, stay over there, he looked at us all. He said, you know, I've learned that death is a lot like having a catheter. It's simply a matter of letting go under unusual circumstances. That was my father.
O Christ,
My brother Will and I will say a few words on behalf of our families. I'll introduce some. We're here, and then Will can do the rest. Our mother, Beverly Moore, is here, Beverly Lejeune, and Annie Gordon, our little sister. Raymond Lejeune has contributed so much to all of us, the work he's done. Their mother, Janice Moore, is here. My wife, Eileen, son, John, wife, Sarah, son, Nick. We all had brothers and sisters. Our special relationship with Mike growing up in Winter Harbour. We all were there for years with him in that wonderful little village. The thing about Mike that I loved so much was he was always wanting to join in on any project that appealed to him, and just named 4 that I was involved in with. I was 12 and he was 5 when I was building a fort with the leftover boards from the sawmill on the island in front of our house in Winter Harbour, and Mike loved to tag along behind me. And he said, I want to help. I said, well, you're only 5, Mike. Not really much you can do. He said, can I hold the nails? He did. Some years later, he joined us, the crew of the Greenpeace campaign to save the whales from the big whaling fleets, and sailed out into the Pacific with us. We saw him in his Save the Whales t-shirt there. That was a wonderful episode. And then later still, when our family started a fish farm in Winter Harbour, Mike and Sophie joined us. Mike as the on-site manager for nearly 6 years. And one of the nicest moments I've been in Winter Harbour was when they brought baby Ariel home. During their early times there, that was a pretty day. Meant a lot. Later still, Mike joined with me in leading the campaign to allow voting rights, which promises to save the lives of millions of children in Asia and Africa. I'm sorry he didn't get to see the end of that, but I think he knew it was inevitable that that would be approved someday, which it is. Next year we'll see some things happen. And I guess the final thing I'd just say is that Mike is not gone. He is here in his 3 lovely children and the beautiful music that he left behind, which will basically last forever. Thank you.
Michael was the spirit, the forest and the sea, the wind and the rain. I remember he would have been about 6. It was his birthday, and he had received a fishing rod. So we went down the dock to go fishing, sitting on the edge of the planks, casting out into the water. But a seagull landed on the far side of Michael from me. And Dusty, a crazy camp dog, German Shepherd Lab cross, which was on the other side of me from Michael, decided it was time to chase that bird. Michael went flying into the water. Poof, he was gone. He came up laughing because he had a life jacket on. We lived in life jackets. He just couldn't believe that crazy dog. Happened again later when he was about 9. I had been traveling around the world for some time, and I knew that Michael was coming over to England to play cricket for the first 15. So I hurried across Europe, got myself into London. I'd been there a couple of days, and I caught a train up to Shrewsbury, where he was supposed to be playing. Got into the village, asked somebody where the cricket pitch was. I arrived as he went up to bat. I mean, How do you time that? We traveled around Europe for a few weeks together. I went to the Isle of Guernsey. Had somewhat of a psychedelic experience. There are no words. There are no words. He was love. He was caring. He was a brother.
So you've just heard Keaton Diab, longtime friend of our son Ariel, who has been in our family basically since he was 7 years old, play Michael's music, a variation of it on Michael's guitar. So several years back, it became clear that Keaton wanted to pursue a musical path and had the dedication and the commitment to it. So Michael said, when I'm gone, I want my guitar to go to him. So today I want to make this official. I know you've had the guitar for a month, trying to work hard on this piece, Keaton, but I want to officially pass what I call the other woman to you. The other woman, she's very demanding. Treat her well, and she will reward you greatly.
Michael spoke often about his spiritual life, a combination of psycho-shamanism and mysticism. It formed the foundation of who he was and still is. His philosophical approach to life was that before you were born and after you are gone are also the places that count as part of being human. An eternal continuum, if you will. His whole trajectory through life included whatever he encountered. Everything in life was on the table, a smorgasbord. Questions and answers, challenges and accomplishments comprised the being that was Michael. During the 10 years he spent traveling as a youth, he adapted an obscure and very old spiritual tradition, an approach absent in the West for centuries, but still alive in Oriental cultures, where even today you can join a 1,000-year-old tradition of approaching music as a spiritual tradition. Michael credits the methods he learned through his work with Alessandro Jodorowsky in his 20s and with Guillermo Aravello in his 50s. So, Michael said, you should expect 20 years at least of trying to find your deepest truth. That is just the rule of thumb in these places. So patience was definitely his motto. I was following, he said, this tradition where you are supposed to reach your truth. And until you've got that, you're supposed to keep trying. And it's not at all uncommon for you to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. So you know that Rumi's poem that addresses this is very, very useful. The mystery is not made clear by repeating the question, nor is it bought by going to amazing places. Until you keep your eyes and your wants still for 40 years, you do not begin to cross over from confusion. For Mike, patience was the supreme virtue in life. Why? Well, he was fond of saying that if you can attain patience, all the other virtues like beauty and truth and charity will just come to you. You don't have to do anything, just be patient. Patience was the foundation of his approach to music as a sacred path as well. He said, I went 20 years before I got my first composition. 20 years. And then watched another 13 years before finally reaching an approach to composition that somehow was always authentic. This resulted in an unbroken wave of composing since 2004. He said, it's like arriving at the sea after many years of following the river downstream. that he was, he brought to his music, which was his spiritual practice. He believed that every part of life was included, and that it changes everything if you approach it in this way. It's not like a craft at all where you keep working to perfection, but rather it's like whether you put your finger to the string, or the pen to the paper, or your foot to the dance floor, a whole different set of parameters are in place with this approach. The foundation that Michael built wasn't so much a body of knowledge, but a practice of paying attention and being truly alive in a physical vessel. A vessel he believed existed before being born, a vessel as a worldly physical womb, and a vessel of a spiritual womb after death. This is the one vessel that shapes whatever comes after this life. This is the vessel that we will continue to know Michael as Michael, and which will live for us in large part through his music. If he were here to talk to us today, I think he might quote Rumi again. The breezes of dawn have secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorsill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. And now a poem on the death of the beloved by John O'Donoghue. Though we need to weep your loss, you dwell in that safe place in our hearts where no storm or night or pain can reach you. Your love was like the dawn brightening over our lives, awakening between the dark, further adventure of color. The sound of your voice found for us a new music that brightened everything. Whatever you unfolded in your gaze quickened in the joy of its being. You placed smiles like flowers on the altar of the heart. Your mind always sparkled with wonder of things. Though your days here were brief, your spirit was alive, awake, complete. We look towards each other no longer from the old distance of our names. Now you dwell inside the rhythm of breath, as close to us as we are to ourselves. Though we cannot see you with an outward eyes, we know our soul's gaze is upon your face, smiling back at us from within everything to which we bring our best refinement. Let us not look only for you, only in memory, where we would grow lonely without you. You would want us to find you in presence, beside us when beauty brightens, when kindness glows, and music echoes eternal tones. When orchards brighten earth, darkest winter has turned to spring. May this dark grief flower with hope in every heart that loves you. May you continue to inspire us, to enter each day with a generous heart, to serve the call of courage and love until we see your beautiful face again, in that land where there is no more separation, where all tears will be wiped from our minds, and where we will never lose you again.
As we put this candle out, symbolize that Mike is no longer physically present. We are reminded that the circle is truly unbroken. We pass the light to our youth and to the next generation who will carry on what Michael so brightly brought us. Thank you.
Would you like to sing the first verse?